Wormholes, those sci-fi staples that enable starships to zip through the galaxy in a flash, might also allow intrepid travelers to take a little trip through time. And no, this isn't just science fiction. A new study says that wormholes are mathematically possible under our current understanding of physics, which means they could be a real-life shortcut through space-time. And with a little bit of finagling, you might be able to use one to go back in time and finally meet your grandpa before he passed away. Just try not to create a paradox by killing him or anything. You know how these things go. When we talk about wormholes, we're talking about a type of tunnel-like structure that connects two widely separated points in space, maybe even two different time periods. But don't get too excited. Wormholes aren't just theoretical. They actually arise from solutions to Einstein's equations for general relativity. The problem is, while the math says they can exist, it also tells us that they'd be impossible to keep stable. That last part hasn't changed, but scientists have recently figured out that there may be ways to prop them open long enough to use them as shortcuts through both space and time. Now, this doesn't mean we'll be hopping in our spaceships and taking a joyride to the past anytime soon. There are still lots of challenges to overcome, including figuring out if they're even remotely possible, much less practical. But it does mean that wormholes are more feasible than ever before. So how would a wormhole work? The basic idea is to connect two regions of space, which are points in space-time, that are so far apart that the only way to get between them would be to travel through time. Of course, that's assuming you could survive a journey through space-time, which has its own dangers, but let's not worry about that right now. In theory, you could use a wormhole to travel to a galaxy that's billions of light years away and arrive there in mere seconds. All you'd have to do is fire up your ship and point it at the wormhole, then zoom through the cosmos via a cosmic shortcut. But you might run into some problems, like if the other end of the wormhole leads to the past, you might travel back in time as well. Imagine stepping out of a wormhole, expecting to find yourself in a distant galaxy, only to be greeted by dinosaurs instead of spaceships. That would definitely put a damper on your intergalactic travel plans. It's fun to think about what might be on the other side of a wormhole, says Emily Adlam, a physicist at the University of Cambridge and lead author of the new paper. But really, the purpose of our paper was to say something about the general question of whether wormholes can exist. To understand whether wormholes can allow you to travel in time, it helps to know how they're different from black holes. Both are regions of space-time with gravity so strong that not even light can escape their grasp. But unlike black holes, which are compact and dense, wormholes are more like tunnels. One end of the wormhole connects to an event horizon where anything that crosses over can never get out. But the other end leads to a region of space outside the reach of the event horizon. If it leads to the past, then you've got a time machine on your hands. The tricky part is making sure that wormhole doesn't collapse before you have a chance to get through. Previous research has shown that wormholes are inherently unstable and will collapse faster than the blink of an eye. That's why scientists have been exploring ways to keep them propped open, such as using exotic matter with negative mass. But even that doesn't solve the time travel paradox. If you were to go back in time and kill your grandfather before your father was born, for example, you would create a situation in which your father could never have existed, and without a father, you wouldn't be born. How could you possibly kill your grandfather if you were never around to do it? It's a logical headache that has kept science fiction writers up at night for decades. That said, figuring out how to prevent paradoxes like these is part of what makes science so cool, says Adlam. You have to consider all the possible outcomes and implications of your actions, she says. And that's not always easy to do. Of course, wormholes aren't the only way to travel through time. Someday, we might figure out how to travel close to the speed of light, which would allow us to experience time dilation. That is, Time would pass more slowly for us than for people who are still on Earth. But even if we master that trick, we won't be able to go backwards. For now, at least, the only way we can travel in time is forwards. But wormholes, says Aldum, are one of the only known ways that we can go backwards. That's not to say that time travel will be easy, even if wormholes turn out to be stable. Time travel is likely to be extremely difficult and dangerous, especially when traveling large distances. But according to the authors, there may be a way to make the journey a little easier by bringing along some exotic matter with negative mass. That would require a lot of energy, but it might be worth it if you want to travel to a distant galaxy and meet some dinosaurs. It's unclear whether wormholes could help us explore the universe or even whether they exist at all. But that hasn't stopped scientists from wondering what they would look like if they did. NASA released this image in 2019 to show what a wormhole might look like if we could see one. The swirling orange colors represent extreme heat and the bright blue represents cold temperatures. Wormholes are one of the few areas of physics where maths and physics seem to agree that they should exist. Whether they do is another matter entirely. So far, we haven't found any evidence of wormholes, but that doesn't mean they're not out there. In fact, some scientists believe that wormholes could be hiding in plain sight, masquerading as something else. For example, fast radio bursts, which are brief, intense signals from distant galaxies, have been proposed to be the result of a type of wormhole. While the existence of wormholes remains a mystery, scientists continue to explore the possibility that these enigmatic structures could exist. Whether or not they do, the search for wormholes has led to some fascinating discoveries and has helped us to better understand the universe. If you like this video, check out our video on time travel paradoxes next. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching.